Hello everyone, I am the Monster Game Dev, and welcome to another Unity tutorial. So this time, we're going to be going over a little something known as triggers. Now the way triggers work is, it'll usually be some sort of object, typically a box, that when a specific something collides with it, something happens, something is triggered. For example, if we want something like an enemy to appear after a player walks through a door, we would then put that box there so that when the player walked through it, the enemy would then appear. So the best way you're actually going to understand this, though, is if we go ahead and make a trigger. So the first thing you're actually going to need a player. There's two ways you could get a player. You could either make your own, or you could go to the Unity Asset Store and download this thing called these Unity Standard Assets. Now, this has loads of stuff in it, and one of the things they actually have, which is the folder down here, is the first-person character. Pre-made character, you can just drag it into your scene. Boom, there you go. First-person character, all simple. You can always improve it and such, but we're not going to worry about that right now. For now, let's focus on some triggers. So, now that we have our character, you need to make an actual trigger. So to do that, we can go ahead and get a box. And let's make this big enough so that we can actually walk through it. We'll make it pretty big, so we can actually walk through this guy. Let's stretch it out this way instead. There we go. We're going to put it over here. And there we go. Right up here. So now we got a trigger. However, it's not quite a trigger yet, because we can still collide with this box. What we actually have to do is come over here to the inspector, and at the bottom, under Box Collider, there was an option for is trigger. So we want to tick that. Now, the box is a trigger. Right now, if we hit play and walk through it, it's actually not going to do anything. So we go ahead and walk through that box. You can walk through it, and nothing's going to happen. So let's make something actually happen. So you're going to need a script for this box, and let's go ahead and add it in the inspector. So let's add components, and let's go trigger something. Still quite creative with these names. And then new script. Trigger something. Create and add. Now it was added to the inspector and over in our project panel. So we can open this up. Let's double click this and open up Visual Studios. I made a little mistake with the last coding basics. It was kind of hard to see the screen. Zoom this in this time. Way easier to see. So now in the script, we're actually not going to use either of the start function or the void update function. We're actually going to use a different function called an onTrigger or enter function. So to do that, all we do is void onTrigger enter. That is not onTrigger enter. And now, there we go. So now this function will help us so that if we collide with anything that is a trigger and has a script attached to it, whatever we put into this function will happen. For now, we'll keep it simple. Just for the moment, we'll put a debug.log. And we'll put just collide. You can go back to Unity. Go ahead and let this compile. And now, all will happen is, as soon as something collides with it, we'll see it down in the console. Once we walk through this, next thing down the console, it says collide. So there we go. That's just the basics of colliders. Now let's say you don't want this to just collide with anything though. So let's go ahead and take our cube, what? Go ahead and add a rigid body real quick. Just make this light. And we hit play. Once it collides with the floor, you're going to see collide pop up in the bottom. We don't want it to just collide with anything and then cause something to happen. We want it to only happen when our player collides with it. So before we do anything with the script, first, we want to tag our player, and we'll tag it a pre-made tag called player. So after that, we're going to go back into Visual Studios, and instead, we're going to get rid of this for now, and then over in our parentheses, we're going to put collider other. So now within our function, we want to put something in there called an if statement. An if statement means that something will happen only under certain conditions. So, to do this, we're going to put if, then in parentheses, other dot tag is equal to, and then in quotation marks, player, then 2 more curly brackets. Now, whatever's inside this sort of mini function inside the onTriggerEnter function will happen. So I'm going to put our debug.log right there. So now that we have this here, only if something has the tag player is something going to happen. So actually, if we go back into Unity, let the script compile. If we go and give the Cupid's rigid body back real quick, and we hit play, whoops, better clear the console. Well, now you notice, nothing popped up in the console. However, if we go and get rid of the rigid body, and our player walks through it, you can see it pop up down on the console. So this is really good if, like, for the example I was giving earlier, if you want an enemy to appear or something. So actually, let's do that right now. Instead of just putting a boring debug.log or something, let's say we just want something much more exciting or something. Let's say a cube will appear. No, we'll go crazy. A sphere. Yes, guys, I know you can probably barely contain your excitement inside right now. We're gonna make a sphere appear. So we're gonna set this sphere to false by ticking that right there at the top. And now, the thing is false. The sphere does not exist in our game right now, technically. So instead of just putting a boring debug.log, we're gonna go to the top right now and create a special little variable. We're gonna make it public, and we're gonna call it, and it's gonna be a game object. And then we're just gonna call it ball. Make it simple. And so now, when our player collides with our trigger, we're going to put ball.setActive. So this is where we decide whether we want it to be active or not. And then in parentheses, we can put true or false. So we put true, which we want to do. Then it'll set the game object to true. Or in this case, it'll set our ball to true. If we put false, then it will set it to false. And at the very end, we put semicolon. I put one there, though. So now, let's go ahead, back into Unity. Then we can go over to our trigger, which I will rename, just so don't confuse the 2 cubes we have in here. Now you'll notice there's a little spot to put our ball into. So we'll just drag it into there. Now when we hit play, and we walk over to our trigger, there we go. Now our ball is active. Doesn't do anything right now. We want to make it... Let's go real exciting right now. Let's add a rigid body to this. I should have mentioned also, rigid bodies add gravity to things, if you didn't know that, so that's why things have been falling. So yeah, so we'll add a rigid body to that. So now when we hit play, walk through our trigger, boom, look at that. Ball falls right down. Now we can push it around and everything. Yes, this is some real excitement right here. Let me put this in full screen. Get a better view of this. Get a better view of this excitement right here. Boom, look at that. Yes, this is pure entertainment right here. Woo! Yes. This is all I want to do all day, is just play with my ball. No. My ball. Crap. Alright, well, whatever. There's a lot. You can do a lot more exciting things than that. Like I said before, you can make an enemy appear, not even just an enemy. I always use an enemy as an example, but there's so much more you can do with it. Let's get something a little exciting here. I'm actually going to create an empty game object, put this sphere under it, set that to true, and we'll do something a little fun here. We'll go ahead and put the ball up real high, and then duplicate that a few times. And by a few times, I mean this is going to be a crap load of times. So now we're going to take our game object, balls, and now we'll turn that to false. So instead we go over to our trigger. Let's replace our ball and put our empty game object. So now, when we hit play, and we go ahead and walk through our trigger, see all the balls just flying everywhere. Look at this. See, now we got a whole bunch of... Oh, we only have 2 left. Oh, and there goes the other one. Come back! No! Oh, geez, we fall faster. We're gonna catch this one. Nope, missed it. Oh, well. So yeah, you can see everything you can do with triggers. Again, as I say every time, experiment with this. See what you can do with this. Just have fun with it. Play around with it. So for now, this has been another Unity tutorial, and hopefully you learned a lot. And until next time, I will see you guys later.